All right. This is a roundtable discussion based on Mortal Kombat, primarily brought to you by UltimateMortalKombat.com, TestYourMight.com, and ClassicMK.com. Got some players here, a lot of tournament guys. We're here at Winter Brawl 5. We're going to start down on the end with Bill. Please introduce yourself.
Hey, my name is Bill. My screen name is Tom Brady. I've been a tournament player since 1992 and about as many games as
Rob, my screen name is Dark Rob. I've been a tournament player for about a year. Actually, Winter Brawl last year was my first tournament, or my first major tournament, and I primarily play UMK3 and looking forward to MK9.
My name is Ken. My screen name is Crazy Bone. I've been a tournament player for a couple of years already, and I'm going to support the scene.
I'm Phil, 9.95, tournament player, I guess about 3 years now. Mostly Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, but I do a little MK2 and a little bit of Super Street Fighter.
My name's Matt. I go by Shock, if everybody knows that. Been a tournament player now for 9 years. Play a myriad of Street Fighter games, and otherwise everybody knows MK3. And I hope to see everybody playing MK9.
My name is Joe. I go by either L.I. Joe or I Love You. I've been playing for honestly my whole life. The tournament since about like 2004 when I was kind of old enough, and I kind of play whatever's popular at the time, pretty much.
It's a veteran.
Yeah. But I still come hang out with my UMK guys always, every tournament.
He's one of ours, even though he plays everything else. So we have a couple of questions or statements that we have, some things that people want to give opinions on. And the first one is about the, in a way, online versus offline tournament scenes, primarily as to whether or not. Pause it. Pause it. Pause it. Okay, so, alright, so basically the first question is about online and offline, and primarily as to the differences in an online and an offline tournament, and where there are going to be differences in gameplay, and why one is preferred over the other. So, I think, again, one of the biggest places to start, we have a couple of people who have played online primarily, going to be playing online and offline. Bill, you've played a little online and offline. Rob really only has experience in offline tournaments, and I've really only got experience in offline tournaments. I don't know about you, Jordan. You played online tournaments?
I played online, but I don't prefer it.
Okay. I think one of the biggest reasons that online versus offline makes a big difference is that in an online scenario, and I think Rob has described this the best, just based on almost mathematics, in terms of the speed at which data can transfer.
It's finite.
Right.
So fast.
You can only move to the speed of light. That's in the best case scenario. So while in a best case scenario online tournament, there still is going to be a little bit of lag and delay. So you're always dealing with a little bit of delay, a little input delay, a little randomness, frame drop, button drop, a little bit of that. So you don't quite have expansive options that are available during an offline tournament. And also, one of the biggest things you don't get in an offline tournament is something like this. You don't get camaraderie, you don't get being able to joke around with each other and meet all the people and make all the friends. And that's something that's huge about tournaments.
Okay, here's my take. When you have netplay, you create an unstable variable in a situation that when you have people playing in person, the only variables are the people involved. There's no physical barrier that separates the player's skill from what it was when they played in person is when they play online. So fundamentally, you cannot play online as well as you can play offline, no matter how good you think your connection is, because it's never as good as playing in person. Bottom line. There's no other way around.
I think because it's been brought up a lot, one thing to note is that nobody here has ever said that online players don't have skill. Many players have honed their skills online, then come to tournaments and have won. we've had that scenario a couple of times now on each other.
What we don't want to hear is people saying they can win tournaments and never come out to a tournament.
Right.
That is the problem.
I think ultimately it actually goes further than the net player. I think if you were to poll on even the most casual side of the world, and 99% of them would say, yes, I understand there is latency issues. The problem, I don't think, is in the connection. The problem is the casual player wanting a piece of the pie that the offline player gets.
They want that recognition.
They all say, I don't care, until there's an event. And someone they've played online, and done reasonably well against online, does well or wins. And all of a sudden they say, well, I should be entitled to the same accolades this guy gets. And the ultimate problem with online versus offline is that online play merges two worlds that don't work. Casual and competitive. Because you can't say you're a casual player, you don't care, and then you get upset that you're not getting accolades and so and so.
You mentioned casual players coming to these tournaments don't care. They can have fun.
It's not just the casual players that come to the tournaments. There are casual players that go everywhere. Casual players don't just exist online. They exist even at the biggest and any events. They show up, they play, they lose, they play their casual games with, other top players, and then they go home when they're happy. Casual play exists both online and offline. The difference is that online, the casual player doesn't ever get himself put in a competitive atmosphere. The problem is the casual player builds up this invisible ego, so to speak, that exists on his couch. And then if they ever do travel offline for their moment of fame and they lose, they become turned off by the tournament experience, and not because it was bad, but because they didn't get the outcome they expected. And I think the ultimate problem with online versus offline is not the latency. I don't mind playing. I don't care how bad a connection is. If anybody's ever wanted to play online games, I'm always up for playing online games, no matter what. I'm going to be honest with you. Gaming is becoming very big. It's the number one source of money. Bigger than movies, bigger than music. And movies and music will get easier and easier to pirate, and games will get harder and harder to pirate. More people will play games, less people will watch movies. That's the way it is.
That's the accessibility factor.
A lot of casual players out there, any opportunity that people like us get to travel, we go to you guys. So if anyone out there, I don't care if you live in Alaska, I will always give you games, no matter what the connection is. The problem is, when you take advantage of someone's kindness who says, because I'm so grateful for the opportunities out there because of guys like you, that I'm willing just to play you to say, hey, let's get some games, and I understand you cannot travel to play. But then when people take that the extra mile, is where the problem comes into play, because then when you go to travel a tournament, then all of a sudden what happens is you have a tournament thread that obviously guys like this work very hard to set up. And then as soon as the tournament's over, in the midst of everybody saying good games and congratulations, somebody has to come in here and say, screw you guys.
Better than all.
I'm better than all of you. You can't tell me I have to travel. And the thing is, we're not telling you. Ultimately, I think the ultimate stalemate comes in this. Well, there's latency issues. I know there's latency issues, but the argument is not that there's not latency, but there's no other way I have to use you guys, so that should be good enough. The problem is it's not good enough. And no offense to anyone out there, we didn't walk down the aisle for you, we didn't get your girlfriend pregnant. If you have other issues in your life, it's not fair to you to tell us that we can't have our tournaments and have a legitimate winner. It's any more fair than it is for us to tell you don't pay your rent and don't feed your child and come to an event. Ultimately, when it comes to fighting games, you got to realize to each his own. Your life, your preferences dictate that you can't travel, you got to play online. Then just enjoy the games you get with the best players out there and say, I'm so lucky that we have online play now, that I can actually play players I would otherwise never get to play.
We actually had a little mini experience, and we're going to move on to the next question momentarily. We had a little experience just here at Leonard Raw with Mortal Kombat 2, where in the last couple of tournaments, a couple of players have come out who were primarily online Mortal Kombat 2 players. UTBB, David Jam, Dookie Brain, all legitimately good Mortal Kombat 2 players. And Summoning, who is also a very well-known, very good Mortal Kombat 2 player. And the last two were won by BTBB, and congratulations to David Gem for winning here. Two very well-known, very skilled MK2 players who came out and said, you know what, I am better than Summoning, and I'm going to beat him. And I want the recognition, so they showed up, and they both beat him.
And now they got it.
And now they've got it. And now that, in my opinion, legitimizes their online campaigns. Because now they can say, I showed up, I beat the best there was offline, and now you can't beat me online or offline.
One more thing out there that's very important. This is actually the biggest thing, and I'm so glad you said that. An online player, there are some guys out there who get so much recognition online, and they look at it and they say, I'm already considered the best. We all know David Jeb did not show up for everybody. I think we all can agree on that, right?
Actually, you couple of them.
Maybe he did, But the thing is, you get guys online, and you look at it and you say, well, I'm already considered the best player because of online. If I travel offline and I win, I'm still the best. If I lose, I'm kind of screwed, because then if I play online, I can win 1 million times in a row, and someone will always say, yeah, I don't know, remember the last time that guy went up? You can't think of it that way. Online, often it's a competitive experience. No one's here to judge you. We're just here to play some games, you know. And I think we all can agree. If you've never traveled before, you have no idea what it's really like to come here. And there's not one person who has ever made an offline event and said, I can go back to the way things were. It's simply not possible. So I think
that's exactly what happened with these online guys. They came back and they said, you know what? These guys who play online only, they don't get it. And this happened for me. It happened, I think, for every one of us who's played offline.
Basically speaking on that, I mean, I'm from California, and I'm all in Philadelphia. And I'm telling you, I'll be in Ohio for Colorado.
That's it. And edit the rest of this out and go with his answer. He's right.
I mean, yeah, I think ultimately at the end of the day, what you have to realize is, I think maybe you guys should say you owe it to yourself to try it. We've all tried online at least once in our life. Don't you think you owe it to yourself to try offline just once? Not even something like this. Something local. You know, MK9 has come out. It's going to be pretty big, and there's always going to be an opportunity for you to show up and meet someone you've talked to online or whatever. And I think maybe just to know it to yourself, you should check it out. I think you'll definitely be very pleased.
Even the local place, it's way bigger than just online. You get first-hand experience next to the person they're playing. You can ask questions. It's just way better.
I think one of the other biggest experiences you go at a tournament, and Joe and Matt, I think you're both going to have something to say about this, is that in an online scenario, many times, and I'm not saying everybody plays casually. Some people try to play as competitively as possible. But I think the majority of people understand that online play is casual. And so, if we're playing Ultimate online, I might pick Sector just to mess around with it. When I come here, you're getting Human Smoke, period. You're getting Human Smoke. He's my best character. It's who you're going to see. And I'm not going to let up. I'm going to play my hardest. And somebody like Joe, who I almost play almost every damn tournament, you know, Joe uses Human Smoke and he doesn't let up on me. He just goes and goes as hard as possible all the time. And it doesn't matter what game it is, but I think in an online scenario, more likely to encounter more casual play. I'm going to use characters I'm not as familiar with, have fun, enjoy myself a little bit, not care about what the win-loss ratio is. And when you get to a tournament, it's all business, and nobody's going to go easy on it. And that's something that, unless you've played online, unless you've played offline, I don't think you've really ever experienced truly. For somebody to just go absolutely all out on you, not caring if you say, oh, that's cheating. Oh, you're cheating. You're using with such a broken character. They're not going to care. Nobody's going to care at the end of the day what first, second, and third place, how they got there. It's just going to matter that they're there.
I just want to say a couple things. I'm not the biggest online player, but I mean, I've played MK3 online, I played MK2 online, I played Deception, actually a lot. I was like, I never played a fighting game more than I played Deception online.
Give me both, man.
some reason, I just played that game a lot. I mean, I don't really play anymore.
That was the first one that had it built in.
Yeah. So that, I was like, I want to try it.
I played that online.
Yeah.
Like
So
the
that was
first
like
2 weeks I owned it.
Yeah. So I played that game a lot, and just like Bill, Mr. Brady was saying, you know, like it's not like to each his own thing. You know what I mean? If that's what you want to do, and you guys are happy playing online, but like everyone else, you owe it to come out to this. You know, I can say that.
You owe it to yourself, yes.
Not to anybody else. You owe it to yourself.
That's actually you owe it to yourself. I think you're cheating yourself out if you don't come to these things. Like, I mean, I'm only 25, but I can tell you I'm never gonna forget the stuff that I did playing at a tournament. I wouldn't know half of my closest friends and stuff like that.
Exactly.
If it wasn't for me playing and starting at MK1 and Street Fighter 2, I wouldn't have half the people in my life that are close, dear friends, thanks to things like this. I met all you guys through through events. You know what I mean? 2006, 2005. So I think you owe it to yourself to come out and try it. We tried we mean your world, come to ours.
I think it's important to remember too that so many of the players I see that we try to encourage to come to tournaments, they get very defensive about it. Like, why are you making me try to come into a tournament? And I think it's important to remember we're not trying to make you come to a tournament, but we know better than you do. We know it will be a positive experience for you, and we know because we're doing it and you're not. So I think we're in a better position to tell you that you're going to have an amazing time if you come because we have the experience of having done it already.
I think it also comes down to, Rob, when you do something you enjoy, you want to share it with other people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's really the most important thing is that, we enjoy doing this. We enjoy being here, running tournaments, playing competitively here.
We're not doing this for our health.
No, not at all. We all spend a lot of money doing it, and then I understand money issues. Nobody's ever going to argue money issues to people who can't come to tournaments. It's not a problem. But I think that, as I said, it comes back to everybody enjoys this, and you want to share the things you enjoy with people. And so that's one of the biggest reasons that this question is so necessary to answer. Come and see this. Come and enjoy what we enjoy so much, and
Then
see
you'll
what we're
understand.
talking about, and you'll understand.
And even as a group, we've started to get together to help players come out to tournaments. We've started funding players, sponsoring players. Maybe it's one at a time, but we're trying to help people come out. We're putting our resources in to help you guys come out. We want to see people take advantage of it. The more people that take advantage of it, the more people that know about it, the easier it is for us to get one or two people out every time somebody can't come out because money's an issue. There's a lot of people who can't take a week off of work, even if they get paid to come out for the trip. They can't take a week off of work because they can't afford to come in. We're trying to help them do this. So the options are out there. You guys need to know where to come look for it. You need to accept that we're trying to do. This is not something that everybody does. Not every community has a close-knit people who are saying, look, we want you guys to come out. People that come out, more people want to come out.
Now, I think we should move on to the next question. Based on, I'm really going to go back 3 years, but I think that you've been running Ultimate at NEC for about 6 years now, right?
6. Okay, so 6
Since
is
11. So that was 5 years. When I came on the scene about 3 years ago, my first tournament was a little local one, actually at Castle Golf, where I met Joe and John. And actually, I think we had one of our biggest turnouts at Castle Golf tournament, and then again at the Braintree for 22 people. And here at Winter Brawl, we've actually got 25, so that's not that much higher than one of our locals. So the question here is, based on your history within the Mortal Kombat community itself, how have you seen the tournament scene evolve over, I guess, about really from Matt, I guess you could really talk in the sense of the last 5 years, most of us over the course of the last 3 years.
Bill and I know
you.
specifically from Mortal Kombat that when I first came into the scene, the game was dead. We just happened to hear about a tournament at University Pinball. UMK3 was going to be there, MK2 was going to be there. We were like, awesome, we got to go. We went there, 12 people showed up. And I was like, all right, this is cool. This reminds me of the arcade days and everything. We came back next time, and there was no one. There was absolutely no people playing. And that was like, wow, we got to do something about this. And that's when we started making videos, connecting with people, making websites, making message boards, getting the word out, saying, hey, this game has people who like it. We all play online. You need to have a scene that is here, that is real, that is tangible. You need to have that. You can't just say, well, you know what, we're just going to play our close friends online. But after all this time has gone by, we've seen it. Well, now we're getting 24 to 32 players every tournament.
Which is possibly as many as 40 in-house.
We can have, absolutely. So now we're seeing real player tournament turnouts instead of like single digits. It's a big difference when you see other games that have been popular for 10 years now getting single player turnouts, and we're actually getting multiple, times that. So that's actually a huge bonus to us. We now see the turnouts that we were wishing we had when we first got into it on a game that was dead 10 years ago. So, that's specifically for the 2D MKs. Just now we're starting to get people who are actually saying, look, we gotta come out. We need a piece of this. Like what Bill was saying, we need a piece of this. We're not just gonna sit online and pretend we're doing this. I think that's a huge difference now.
I think that's been part of our evolution as well. Incorporating the 3D Mortal Kombat's a lot. For a long time, and I'll be honest, I was guilty of it too, doing nothing but bashing the 3D Mortal Kombat.
Tried to get
Yeah, we tried.
Never got it.
And I think it was partially through Bill's help as well, pushing KPC to come to tournaments. We had a lot of people over the course of the last 3 years who remembered playing Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 and said, you know what, hey, let's go play. Let's do it. They built up enough of a foundation to say, all right, you know what, it's worth it. I'm not going to go out there for a 12-man tournament, but you know what, we're getting 24 people at a tournament like Winter Brawl and NEC, and that caused us to get like 32.
If every person who said, I'm not going to come out for a tournament that has 12 people came out, we'd have 64-man brackets every single time.
Every time.
If you want to come out for the money, this is not the place to do it. There's not that much money in tournaments unless you're traveling the country and willing to sacrifice your life for us.
That's something that Joe can really help with. He's done it. He's traveled.
Well, not necessarily travel for anything like I traveled for Street Fighter,
Right.
but the same thing I went to. I was lucky. Japan, California, Texas, Georgia, all on not my own dime. It's like I said, the greatest experience of my life. To do these things for the sake of playing. But when it comes to Mortal Kombat, to me, the biggest tournament, I don't need to even like 2 medal. One was the East Coast Showdown, too. When we had it.
Well, you guys,
Yeah.
I think that is such a huge part of the evolution of the tournament scene because
Started there.
well, yeah, I mean, you and John came to Matt and I and said, we want you to bring this game in. We think we can help make it big. And you were absolutely right. Because up until then, it was basically it was Castle Golf. That's all it was Castle Golf. And I love these guys, but Bill was completely out of the picture at that point. Bone, up until a couple of months ago, I wasn't able to convince him to play. Rob, I didn't meet until a year ago. So it really was us three, like 3 years ago, and then specifically at ECT, you came to the two of us and said, bring it. We think we can help. Yeah, ECT won. We think we can help make this big. A year later, we know everybody. Bill was here doing commentary on the stream. Rob was there, and you guys put it on the stream for the very first time. And people were talking, going crazy over it, saying, I never knew this game could be played this way. I never knew it was so fast. I never knew it was so deep. People were saying, this is more exciting than Tekken. Sorry, Bob.
Sorry. No idea for me. I quit Tekken 6. So no idea for me. When Shock and I played, because I'm kind of like a recognized player. I knew Shock was one of the greatest players in that time. I kept telling everyone, like, look, me and Shock are going to play. And there's people know me from Street Fighter, and they know Shock even Mortal Kombat. It was like, I think that tournament is what
Road to Evo.
It was actually the tightest moment of the tournament was Shock and I playing in finals.
Yeah.
The game that nobody understood going into it, yeah.
You are part of the exact reason for the evolution of this game because you are almost like you bridge the gap between Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter because you play all of those, but a lot of your roots are playing Ultimate with summoning. So, you know, exactly. You know, your roots in playing Mortal Kombat with somebody. So, you play all of these games now, and people know you and say, wait, Joe's playing Mortal Kombat? We gotta go see this. And I remember back in Castle Golf, Darren standing there going, get that money, Joe, get that money. And it was hysterical. They were all cheering for Joe. And it was really great because, I mean, you lost that tournament to Frankie. And it was such a great set. You came down to the last round of the last match, and it was just unbelievable. And it was so much fun that encouraged me to go back and begin encouraging other people to start coming.
And you contacted me.
Yeah, I finally contacted Matt about it. He came out to one. And again, it was the two of you in grand finals. How many of those have I seen?
Until we started getting the real players out there.
Now
we're
But you know what the fact of the matter is that you bridge that gap, and people want to see you play because you're so well known. That now, in a way, a lot of the Mortal Kombat players have fed, in a way, kind of off your fame, where people have gotten known even more. Like, oh, wait, is that the guy Joe played? Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is. These are the people who've been involved. And that's the way the scene has begun evolving. And that's how 3D Mortal Kombat began coming in, because they wanted to see and be part of the Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 scene. And they said, well, you know what, can we bring our game? Well, of course. That's the way every tournament works. That's the way every tournament works. Can we bring your game? Of course, if you want to bring it, bring it.
For me, it was more like, when I hosted the Northport Intelligence DC, I said, you know, like, I'm watching these 2D players play and have fun, and it's like, what can we have? And I know Tom has helped me out with this a lot. We've been going at it for a long time. And I think it's time for us all to come together.
Wow, I think I pretty almost everybody here in Mortal Kombat. But I've been playing Mortal Kombat literally since 1992. Mortal Kombat, with the exception of a few MKDC tournaments and MKDA tournaments, and think about MKDA, it wasn't even played by Mortal Kombat players. Second players from Caliber players played it. Matt Shock over here, I think I first saw him at the University Football Tournament, EC2, and he kept plugging away at the game for a long time. There are several tournaments where he's just said, you know what, free entry fee, and I'll pay out a prize.
I actually would take entry fees for like the first 5 or 6 people. I would take like $5 entry fees for like people who really want to play, and then like 5 or 6 people would say, look, I don't have the money to play. I'm gonna lose. I don't have the money to play. So I'll be like, yeah, I'm giving everybody their money back. I want everybody to play this, and I'm gonna scrounge for these 12 players, these 16 players, just to get what looks like, you know, people playing the game. You know, it's not about the money to us. So money is just part to make people play harder. That's really what it is. When you see people who say, oh, they don't look like they're playing that hard. Well, you know, maybe no money was on it. You know, maybe that was the driver. But yeah,
It's the love of the game. In all honesty, I don't think we would get any less players if we made Mortal Kombat free. I'm not sure we would even get that many more, because the people that love the game are going to play the game, and the people that we can turn on to the game will continue to play the game. And I don't think they would have any.
got more players, but I don't think any of the players added to that tournament thought they were going to win, even though there was $500 for first place. Just a decent amount of change coming out to the tournament. You know, that covers your travel expenses, and you have a good time.
I recently came back to Mortal Kombat as a I even played the 3D Mortal Kombat. So I'm basically I'm one of the only players who's actually played, I think, all of them. And at NEC, he's busy today, otherwise he would be here. He had a birthday to go to.
You can edit that out.
I'll leave it in. Yeah, but at NEC, you know, and I've seen so many tournaments that Matt has held, and 10 people, 5 people, 12 people, you know, whatever it may be. NEC had, what did you do? So NEC, no, here at NEC I actually got in the top 10 of Tekken 6. I've been top 7 Tekken 6 tournaments. And I said, well, you know what? For the first time I'm noticing people are actually playing.
That was a nightmare bracket too.
So I said,
One setup.
So I said, I'm actually going to put Tekken down and go back 100% of Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat 9 is coming out. And it was really a realization. I just remembered the tournaments that Shock had held. All these Mortal Kombat, even though I didn't play them, I was still at the events for the games. And now I'm watching a 32-man bracket with people that I've heard about but never seen play. Jason Dustin was there, Subi was there, Rasta was there, Juggernaut. And they're all there. Guys coming from New York, Florida,
A lot of online players too.
a lot of people coming from Ohio. You got people coming from the Midwest. The last two Mortal Kombat tournaments, I've seen guys from California, from the Midwest, from far distances. And they all come here, so it became a realization that these tournaments are really starting to pick up again. And I think it's really the right time for it because with Mortal Kombat 9 coming out, I really think that a lot of the hard work of a lot of people who sit here is really starting to pay off.
Either way, I'm glad you did that because it kind of brings us up to our next question. And it's really, the last question is really, how do we expect Mortal Kombat 9? Of course, providing it's good, and we're all expecting it to be. But how do we expect Mortal Kombat 9 itself to kind of bridge the gap between Street Fighter, and how is it going to change the community and the fighting game community in general?
For Street Fighter, just
Right.
one of the biggest things I think is going to happen is for a long time, the MK community has been kind of fractured into almost like cliques. You have the old school 2D guys, you have the 3D guys, and then you have the PC guys. Every game has its
Microcast.
yes, but I think finally with MK9 we're going to get a game that kind of the entire community can unite.
Everybody wants to.
Everybody wants to play, and I think the MK community in particular really needs something like that. Whether Street Fighter 4 is the best Street Fighter game or not, that's not important. But it's certainly not. But what it did do is it unified that community again, and everyone was playing it again. So it completely rejuvenated the tournament scene and made it bigger than it's ever been. And something like MK9, if it does something similar for us in terms of uniting the entire community that plays all these games, we're all going to play it. 2D players, 3D players, and PC players, everyone's going to play it. And that, I think, is one of the biggest things.
There's not a lot much more insight. What up?
The only thing that I kind of feel about this is the fact that it's actually part of the Evo series.
Yeah.
This is an Evo game. It's not a side tournament. This is a game that millions, thousands of people are going to watch the game live, and even more thousands of people are going to watch this game on the stream. So I really think, for believing this, I believe the future of MK9 is going to be in our hands to put on the greatest show.
Absolutely.
And that's really where the future of the game is. Whether it's a good game or a bad game. Because you still have people that say, oh, MK, that's 10 years old, one playing MK. But it's just like
This one isn't.
Yeah.
This one's brand new.
Yeah. Just how we did at East Coast Throwdown, someone has to do that game. And Civic really has to blow that game up.
Blow it out the shot.
Yeah, and everyone be like, wow. So everyone's going to want that to happen next year. And there comes, now you're going to want to have the same reaction for MK. So I really think it's in our best interest to play this game, play this game well, and play this game well.
Yeah.
Pretty much think that covers just about it.
I don't want to talk about MK9, but what I really want to say is a lot of these guys on this panel are going to have a lot of things happen for me. Guys like Sean Cruz, I cannot express, unless you were there from the very beginning of what was tournament, really don't understand just how easy it could have been to say, screw this.
NEC9.
It started out with just Mortal Kombat Trilogy and the PlayStation 2. Then the guy went out and bought sticks for everyone to play on out of his own money, brings his own equipment. We got guys like Phil, we got Joe here, summoning Rob, all helping set things up just so we can just sit down and play on a Saturday and Sunday afternoon. They take a day off from work to come here and work. So I think a lot of things are in order for them. And you know, I have a sparring partner of mine at MKDC, which is Rio. He's the only reason why he's even played that game. Because I said, who the hell from the MK community is beating me in a game? Who the hell is this kid? I only stuck around to try to find a way around what he was doing back 2 or 3 years ago when I first met him. And not to go back to the first point, but to actually sit there, you know, and be able to play him in a tournament with NEC for the first time in our life, to actually want to kill each other instead of practice. None of that would have been possible without a lot of guys on this panel right here. So I think a lot of things in order for them, because a lot of you guys that are going to come out from MK9, you've got to realize the good time you guys are going to have would never have gotten where it would not have even been a possibility for a lot of hard work on this panel. And to all you online players who think you get no love, I want to thank a lot of you guys who run the forums and are on the forums, support me and anyone else here, because you know, the only reason why I'm even knowing a lot of these things and get opportunity is because you guys give me an opportunity to have a voice on the forums. You guys, you know, make me known. You guys support me when I go out to tournaments, and I cannot tell you just how thankful I am to everyone here, everyone out there watching this video, and everyone out there online that plays it. I want to say thanks to all you guys, and thanks to everyone here on this panel.
For me, just like he said, I think the biggest thanks that I have for like reliving my childhood and playing MK really goes to this man right here. Just like he said, there's no question about it. Shock is the most important man in the scene, hands down. Nothing more to say. Hands down.
Couldn't end on a better note.
We started on so small with a mission, and then we were on it, and this is just the beginning.
Yeah, I think it's really. I think we finally just said you know, we wanted something more. You know, playing online and just all of that. It really does so much for you. And I think, you know, when you see these people, you know, we watch streams and we see people, you know, having a great time in tournaments. I think finally we decided we want that too. You know, and you know, when I met you and I came to my first time, I changed everything. Changed my whole outlook. It changed everything.
Gave up Street Fighter 4?
I did. I stopped playing that game. I started playing it, which is weird because it's like I never played all of it before. Yeah, that's it.
The only shout outs are specific ones that I want to give are to, I mean, I wouldn't be doing any of this if it weren't for that. Particularly Joe's team. We wouldn't be where we are now without that very first stream and then doing off insurance. And Storms was back there waving at me and whatnot.
That guy.
Yeah, that guy there. The Storms, because he's done so much with Test Your Might, to Matt for Open MK, to Zach for CMK. We don't really know about so much. You know, we're ridiculously promoting tournaments and whatnot. You know, Rob, my biggest sparring partner and Ultimate, probably some of the biggest muscle here in how to get things set up. If you guys ever need to know how to set up name, call this man right here. This man right here does all of it right now. YouTube, right there.
I just said it too.
Yeah, how to do it.
But, and the last thing is, I guess, thank you to, I mean, all the players in general, and also to the online players, because everybody's going to play Mortal Kombat 9 offline. A lot of us are going to play a lot with each other offline because we've got a group of friends that play, but not a single one of us here isn't going to try it online. So let's go with that good net code. With good net code, you know, we'll play it. See you online.
And the last thing I would like to say is that I would not be here if it weren't for the late great Brian Prophet. He's the reason why. Absolutely.
Rob?
Yeah.
Since you know it
I
literally
did.
inside and out?
I did this mod for Scott Storms last night. This is the Mad Cats Ultimate Edition Combat Fight Stick. It is basically a variation on the Street Fighter layout where they took out the low punch and moved the middle button, got rid of one, and moved it in the middle, and made kind of an MK layout. I played it last night. I tested it out on MK2, and I gotta say I was very surprised at how easily I was able to execute moves with it. I was doing stuff that I don't even really play at. I was doing some stuff on MK2 that I could never do before. Like deep jump kicks into air things. I mean, really good stuff. And I see we have another one.
This is the one that actually Mark Band has. He just lent it us for a moment to show you guys. And this one actually has the new Sanwa Circle Gate on it, which actually feels really awesome. I don't think I would ever use a Sanwa without a Circle Gate now.
This one still has the square.
Yeah, this game was made for us. It feels awesome. I can play Street Fighter.
I'm a big American stick guy. That's
That is awesome.
Somebody cover Mark Band's eyes and somebody walk away with a stick.
So here we go. I did a little colorful one here. I made the block button red and the tag button white. But I gotta say, and I've been playing on the old school sticks for a long time. These are really great. I had no problem. In fact, some things I even did were easier to do on these sticks than they are on the hap sticks. I'm really smooth, very smooth, and especially if there's any like Street Fighter players who already have keys and really want to get into MK9. I mean, this is probably the best bet for you because
Most accessible.
most accessible, certainly, and it's we've been playing MK for a long time, and we're telling you this is good stuff. This is good stuff, and it was definitely what you need for MK9. But yeah, I definitely was very impressed, and I was not expecting it, because I'm so used to the old school to be as cool as it was. So definitely great stuff.
Final words.
What?
Just some final words.
Final words?
Final words.
Yeah, thank you for our final words.
That's it.
Just again, thank you for everybody watching. Thank you to everybody being here. Thank you for being a part of Mortal Kombat.
Somebody take a still shot of this. Like I gotta have this for
I already took a few pictures.
Okay.
I'll see
I'll
all
take
you guys
another
at
one here.
Power Up. What is it? April 29th. East
First
Coast.
throw down 3.
It's the first MK5 and MK9 tournament. I'm gonna be there to hopefully win. Joking. I'll be there though. I'm looking forward to see everybody there in Cincinnati, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Cincinnati, Ohio. So April 29th, the first MK9 tournament. I hope to see everybody there.